like they said, I'm going to talk about comic book. But before I say anything, just please, just show of hands. How many of you here? Many of you in here have read a comic book before? Great, good numbers, awesome. Now, this time, just shout out the words. What are the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word comic book? Keep throwing, keep throwing. Okay. So, from what I hear a lot of superheroes' name. For some reason, I hear vegetables, and as well as, well, entertainment and kids, which is understandable, since when we look at the comic book, we see pictures and small texts, and that we think, oh, it's simple. There's nothing educational about them, nor they are for us. And yet, once I look at them, I see that in the images and in those texts, there's deeper meaning within them. Which is why I am here to tell you why we should take comic book more seriously. Now, before I ask you all to join me into the geek side of things, you have to know, as a comic book reader myself, I am considered to be dorky, which is great, because comic book readers are associated with being dorky and geeky. I'm kind of proud of it. So, I'd like to ask you to join me in the dork side and find out how great comic book can be. And in doing so, I would like to tell you my origin story. It all started back in 2008 when my parents took me to the premiere of Iron Man. Back then, I was an 8-year-old tot who didn't know much about superheroes. As I walk into the movie, I sit down and with a pale face. Another movie. Great. Awesome. But then as I watch, my expression changes. It came from pale and not expressive to this. Oh my God, it's Iron Man! I was so pumped because of all the action and how this guy who just put on a suit of armor to protect the world. So I went home, I did a little bit of digging, Wikipedia of course, and I found out that he is a comic book reader. So I started to read comic books. Years passed, I was reading all sorts of comic books, from Marvel to DC, and to some weird Japanese manga, which I will not go into. But I did not take them as seriously as I should have. Back then, I still find them entertaining and just and it's a way for me to kill time. It wasn't until 2015 where I take it as seriously as I am now, when my friends invited me to a competition called World Scholar Cup. It is a debate theme competition where each year the theme changes. And in 2015, where it was hosted in Malaysia, the theme at that time was superheroes. And I can guess for sure that I knew everything. All the fact that superheroes I knew was in my head. And though they gave us reading materials, I know everything. I even know that Superman was on Krypton, where he was not actually the last man of Krypton. He actually had a dog and a sister, even his parents, somewhat. But though what got me excited and stunned me was the questions they asked. That's the prompt questions. They asked me to make connections with the comic to our real world. How the problem in the comics that are happening are actually the one that we are facing right now. So having been stunned and being challenged, I reread all of this comic book series I have read in the past. And I discovered 3 things that make me change my perspective on comic book. Number 1, they are a reflection of our world. Now, how many of you here have heard of Captain America before? Good numbers. Awesome. As you know, Captain America is a kind of super soldier who's from the United States, and that if you look more into his history, you will see that back in World War II, he was the Uncle Sam, or the patriotic icon for the United States that tells the story of war through the pages of comic book. As kids my age in the living room, they can read through the comic book and see what's going on in the war at the actual time, where the battle that we lost, that the Americans lost, and the battle they won, and how the war changes. And Captain America was a way for the author to tell those stories from the real world for us, having us always being informed with what's going on. Second, it makes big ideas smaller. Now, I presume that you all know Xmen. And if you've seen the Xmen movies or in a comic book, you see that they are a group of mutants who have extraordinary powers, and especially one thing, they look different from us. And in those pages of comic, they were discriminate of how they look and how they act. If you see any familiar with it, you'll see that it kind of resembles the civil rights movement. Back when Xmen was created, the civil rights movement was occurring. And the authors of Xmen were actually using them as a reference to what's going on, as connecting the big idea of African American population at that time were treated differently from the population of the United States. They were discriminated, and that they were treated in horrific ways that people don't know. And when kids my age read these ideas, they were able to understand the idea of equality in their mind. Being planted with that, they have a fundamental idea and a concept of what will come to be a large world problem. And yet, though in the page of comic, we're tackling equality problem, we're still facing them in a real world now, even though the idea of equality is a big change. But then getting ideas and messages from comic books isn't so difficult. It's actually really hard. It would take high-level analysis and critical thinking skills to understand the pictures and the words that are coming out of the comic book. Which is why when comic book readers read these things, they require a high level of analysis skills and critical thinking skills in order to understand. Now, I have these pictures up here of a comic book cover. Please, let's take a look at it. This is a comic book, a Marvel characters as well. Kind of look at them. Think, what's going on to this character right now? What's going through in her mind? Or better yet, what's the big idea that the author is trying to tell through this girl? Now, keep that thought in your head, and I'll tell you what I see from this picture. Because from what I see a small girl who's being trapped, and that she has no way to escape. Even though there's light coming out of the room, and though there might be a bit of hope, her expression is pale, as though she knows nothing going on. And if you even look closer, you'll see claws come out of her hand. Probably even metals too. Now, just from this one page, you might not understand the entire idea yet. But as you read and look carefully, you see her entire storyline, and understand the big idea behind each character. Side note, this character is called X-23, or Laura. She is a clone of Wolverine, the 23rd clone, and I want to tell you that she is a symbol for child abuse. She did not get this claws or this metal skeleton from nature. She got them from experiment, brutally. Now, imagine that idea being implanted in those comics. That people over the world are reading these ideas. Now, if they were able to understand these messages from the page of comic, they may do something about it. They may be inspired. They may be empowered to do something about this problem. Because whatever's happening to this girl right now, that may actually happen to someone out there in the world. Which is what the purpose of comic book is. It's a way for the author to inspire, to empower the readers to do something about the problem that they're facing right now. I have told you all the reasons for why we should take comic books seriously, of reflection of our world, and that it's improve our critical thinking skills, and make big ideas simpler. And yet, why am I still talking? I can stand here blah, 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 blah about comic books and storylines. Yet, I'm still here. Because as I look among the crowd, I can see that none of you are convinced. None of you are convinced that comic books are more than just for entertainment and for kids. They are a way for authors to send out their message to the audience in just a different way. They are a form of expression, just like novels and textbooks. Now, with pictures debunking of historical events, such as this one, a painting that's tells the story of a historical event called the storming of the Bastille, which occurred in the French Revolution. And from this painting, you can see that there's a revolution going on, and that the people are rising up, storming a fortress perhaps. And though you might not have the background knowledge of the French Revolution, know what's going on, you can look at this picture carefully and analyze them, getting the big ideas. And with this picture, it's a form of expression which occur a lot in historical textbooks, which is what all textbooks and novels and comics is. They are a form of expression. They're equivalent to each other. There's no reason for us to exclude them from being entertainment. Novels can be entertaining. Textbook can be entertaining too. A physics teacher can find a textbook entertaining through the idea and concept. A math teacher can look at the formula and see, wow, this is really good, even though a student might not understand what the heck that means. Or from a novel, where literature teachers look at them and see that the message that Shakespeare is trying to tell us. It's a comic book too. Both of them are a form of expression that are their best to tell the readers what's going on and what's the idea of being transferred to the people. So I wish to tell you, try not to exclude them from novels and textbooks. They're both educational. They have purposes just as each other. Now, you might hear me talking, and at my age, I might not know yet. But then, seeing is believing. So I wish to challenge you all. Today, go home. Maybe go to the bookstore as well. Go to the shelf where it said comic book. Try to pick up one. Read it carefully. Try to see them through a different lens. And that's for my teacher out there. If the next time you think of giving us a 5-page reading on economics, think again. You might give us a comic book instead. Thank you.